en MP3.
British literature. The Anglo-Saxons Old English period, 5th century and 10,066. Who are the Anglo-Saxons? They are settlers from the German regions of England and Saxony, arrived to Britain in AD 450 after the fall of the Roman Empire. Jutes and Frishmen for Denmark were also sitting in Britain. Anglo-Saxons replaced their Roman legacy with their own. This period lasts 600 years from 410 to 10,066. Britain's political landscape underwent many changes. Anglo-Saxon rule came to an end after the death of Edward the Confessor. He willed his kingdom to both William of Normandy and Harold Godwin. Harold was crowned king but failed to defend his crown. William and his army crossed the Channel from France to claim it for himself. Harold was defeated by the Normans at the Battle of Hastings in October of 10,066. Anglo-Saxon vocabulary was very simple and included words for everyday things. 4 days of week were named after Anglo-Saxon gods: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Christianity brought Latin words to the English language. The Norman conquest, Middle English, 10,066 to 10,075. 911. Viking chief called Rollo accepted a large area of northern France from then King of France Charles II as a peace offer. These areas is now called Normandy. Rollo became the first duke. Normans adopted the French language and culture. 10,066. King of England Edward the Confessor died. Anglo-Saxons chose Harold to succeed him. William didn't agree to this claiming. Edward promised him the crown to him years earlier. 10,063. William tricked Harold into swearing to support his claim to the English throne. Harold's brother Thorstein joined forces with Harald Hardrada, king of Norway, and landed with the army in Yorkshire. Harold marched his army to London to repel the invaders at Tadcaster. He seized the opportunity to catch the enemy off guard. However, even his army was exhausted from the forced march to London. They managed to kill both Thorstein and Hardrada. Harold and his army marched 300 kilometers south to fight William of Normandy, who landed at Percy Kent. Harold's sick and exhausted Saxon army met the fresh, rested Norman troops near Hastings and the battle began. Harold was struck in the eye by Norman arrow and died. After that, all of these men were slain. On Christmas Day of 10,066, William the Conqueror was crowned King of England. In 10,072, Norman Kingdom was firmly established. They controlled church and state. Saxon buildings were mostly bone structures, so the French charged the landscape and erected massive stone castles, churches, cathedrals, and monasteries. These imposing structures demonstrate who was now in charge. Anglo-Saxon was related to low-class use. Latin was still being used, but only in church. Most people spoke English. Normans introduced new and more established words such as beef, sheep, mutton, pork. English language absorbed about 10,000 new words from the Normans. And that's all. Thank you.
En MP3. American literature was shaped by the story of the country that produced it. For almost a century and a half, America became the United States a nation. By the end of the 19th century, this nation sailed southward to the Gulf of Mexico, northward to the 49th parallel, and westward to the Pacific. By the end of the 19th century, too, it had taken its place among the powers of the world. It became involved in two world wars, and following these conflicts with the problems of Europe and East Asia, the rise of science and industry, as well as changes in ways of thinking and feeling, brought many modifications in people's lives. All these factors in the development of the United States molded the literature of the country. Authors, they literally works and specific writing styles. They were affected and influenced by the world around them. Writing styles are also affected by the current trends and opinions of the period that they represent. American writers express both disillusion and nostalgia following the World War I. Over the course of the years, literature has developed and changed due to American evolution. These changing time periods can be classified to 9 eras: colonial, revolution, romantic, transcendental, realist, modern, Harlem Renaissance, Beat Generation, and postmodern. American literature has changed over time by adapting previous values, beliefs, and literary changes. When a new era represents, the Elizabeth Age was the golden age of drama, for about the beginning of the 17th century, as student darkening of tone became noticeable in most forms of literary expressions, especially in drama, and then changed more or less coincided with the death of Elizabeth. American Renaissance, also called New England Renaissance, period from the 1830 rightly until the end of the American Civil War, in which American literature, in the wake of the Romantic movement, came of age as expression of a national spirit. The Victorian era. During the Victorian era, the influence of literature became more prevalent in society as reading evolved into a social pastime, indicated by the increasing literary rate. And the era beginning in 1837, it is estimated that approximately half of the adult male population was literary to a certain degree.
En MP3.
Contemporary literature is literature written after World War II. The works of contemporary literature reflect the society's social and/or political viewpoints, shown throughout realistic characters, connections to current events, and socioeconomic messages. The writers are looking for trends that illuminate social strengths and weaknesses. When we think of contemporary literature, we can't just simply look at a few themes or settings. Since society changes over time, so do the contents and messages of this writing. Romanticism is a revolutionary movement associated with the French working class revolution against the monarch and the aristocracy. They called for liberty, equality, and fraternity. Romanticism had great impact on literature. Literally, Romanticism has changed the notion of literature. Prior to the 18th century, literature simply consists of essays, history, and the study of ancient Greek and Roman languages. Romanticism came as a new beginning with a new concept for literature, by introducing new ideas and ways of perceiving things. By this time, literature was becoming virtually synonymous with imaginative and intuitive and creative. Poetry acquired a deep social, political, and physiological implications. Literature has become a whole new alternative ideology powered by imagination.
Dark Romanticism is thought to be emerged from the transcendental movement in 19th century America. Dark Romanticism believed humans gravitate to evil and self-destruction. Stories in this genre have many characteristics of realism. Dark Romanticism focused on human fallibility, self-destruction, judgment, punishment, as well as psychological effects of guilt and sin. The even darker side of Dark Romanticism is Gothic literature, which involves terror, personal torment, and the supernatural. So, Victorian literature is literature written during the reign of Queen Victoria in Great Britain. The improvements in technology offered a lot of opportunities for the people in England, but also represented a major upheaval in regards to how people lived their lives and interacted with the world. As regarding became more of a pastime, publications such as magazines that provided monthly installments of new articles, satiric essays, poetry, and fiction. Because literature was an accessible and pervasive part of Victorian society, studying it is crucial in understanding the attitudes and concerns of the people who lived during this era. Much of the writing during this time was a reaction to a rapidly changing notion of science, morality, and society. This podcast was brought to you by Samantha, Vanessa, Jacqueline, and Enrique. Thanks for listening.